Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Chris Hester. Chris, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So the first question I've got for you, Chris, is who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
All time, Lee Priest, Flex Lewis, and Ronnie Coleman.
All right. Why?
Lee Priest just because like the density, the muscle he carried. I'm known for having big arms, and Lee Priest has some of the craziest, freakiest arms of all time. And like I remember in college, I used to always watch him train, and he was just if I could train anybody, it would probably be him. He was an animal. Yeah, Lee Priest, one of my favorites.
Very cool, man. I love that. All right. So tell us, Chris, at what age did you start lifting weights? And then why did you start lifting weights at that age?
I want to say I really got into training and lifting weights at the age of 18. I played football in high school, ran track, but I really didn't work. I wasn't really into working out. I just did a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups, and that was about it. And then once I graduated high school, I went on to play football at college, and then I seen like how like these were 4 and 5 star athletes and just crazy. So I was like, you know what, I really got to get into this if I want to be able to compete at a high level. So I started taking my training seriously, and then once I got done playing ball and graduated, I was like, you know what, I love being in the gym. I love working out, so I'm gonna keep it going. So the results come, and everyone would tell me, man, you should do bodybuilding. You got the genetics for it, you got the structure, you'd kill it. And I would always put it off, like, no, I just like looking good, I want to look good for the girls or whatever. And so that's how I got into it. So, but the age of 18, and then I really took bodybuilding seriously around the age 22, 23.
Very cool. And we're gonna get into all of that. I want to just touch on here for a little bit, Chris, your upbringing. So just tell us a little bit about where you grew up. You already mentioned football and track, but talk about sports, how they impacted you, what they meant to you. Talk about your family dynamics a little bit. Anything else that you want to touch on in terms of childhood up to about high school, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. 2 older sisters, a younger brother. My mom's a teacher. She's still teaching right now. My dad, he started out as a teacher, and then he got promoted up through the ranks and became a principal. He was actually the principal of my high school for all the way up to my senior year, my freshman, sophomore, junior year. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then he took a job elsewhere and became the superintendent of a school district. But my growing up in like with parents working in the education system, they were all about like good grades, and if I came home with a B, then that was frowned upon, But they were both really strict, but they taught me discipline and hard work. I see how hard they work, and they would always tell me like, if you want to. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
They would always tell me like, no matter what you do in life, just do it to the best of your ability. Hard work, and so that really stuck with me. And they're really two of my biggest motivators. Whenever I'm feeling tired or don't want to do something or want to procrastinate with doing something, I would always just think about like, what my mom, what my dad do it. So that taught me a lot. And I had 2 older sisters. Well, I have 2 older sisters, but one is 14 years older than me, and the other one is 12 years older than me. So it was like a gap. So we really didn't like get to, connect like that until I was older. But they're really good. I have one lives in Minnesota, one lives in Chicago. My brother, he's down in Los Angeles right now. But yeah, they're all like we talk a lot now, and yeah, really good family.
So I want to talk about sports here in a minute, but before we do, how did your parents, Chicago, I don't know, maybe if you grew up in the suburbs or somewhere else in the Chicago area, but generally speaking, Chicago gets a pretty bad rap in terms of education, right? And there's a lot of crime there, and there's a lot going on, right? I don't want to get into all that, but for your parents, did they, first of all, did they grow up in the Chicago area then too?
My mom's from Chicago. She grew up on the west side of Chicago, and my dad he's originally from Atlanta.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
question I want to ask, because I'm very curious, how did they kind of pursue, education in terms of becoming educators? And was that something that like their family really strongly pushed them towards? But really, how did your parents kind of get into education and being educators themselves? Because that's kind of
Right.
I'm just curious about that.
Well, they both love helping people. Like my mom, she pretty much raised like her brothers and sisters coming up, so she's a big giver. She loves helping people, so I believe that's how she really got into like wanting to be a teacher, wanting to teach and nurture people and guide people. So, and my dad's the same way. He loves helping out. So yeah, I believe that's how they both got into it.
Okay, very cool. So talk about sports a little bit. You said football, track. How
Hmm.
young did you start playing sports? Again, Chicago's really known for their sports, especially basketball. I know that. But
Yeah.
how did sports kind of impact you when you were younger, Chris?
So I didn't start playing football until my sophomore year of high school. I wanted to play like coming up in Pee Wee and elementary, but my mom would never let me because she was afraid I would get hurt. So it took a lot of convincing. So my freshman year, I went out for the football team. My first day of practice, I had never played football. Well, I've always loved football, but I never played contact football because my mom didn't let me. So I went out my first day of practice and went through practice, and then I came home I came home, and then the next day I woke up completely sore, like body ache and everything was in pain. I was like, man, I can't do this. Like this is hard. So I told my dad, I was like, you know what, I need to dedicate this year of football. I mean, I need to dedicate this year to like training to get in like football shape and all that. So I didn't play my freshman year. Then I came back my sophomore year, made the team, um, became a captain my sophomore year. I had really like good talent. So I relied on talent a lot. And yeah, football taught me a lot. Like I love the game. I miss it so much. I had some really good years playing football at Carver Military Academy.
So what's one lesson that you feel like football taught you as a young person that's carried over into adulthood?
Overcoming adversity, because everything is not going to go your way in life. And in football, there's ebbs and flows of the game. You might have a good play here, and then next thing you know, you might give up a touchdown, and like it's like the highs and lows of a football game, just like the highs and lows of life. You might have a good week, a really good week, and then the world comes crashing down on you the next week, and you feel like you have no one to turn to. So just like overcoming adversity, and never getting too high and never getting too low, and just keep your head down, keep grinding, keep working, no matter what life throws at you. You just got to be prepared for it.
What position did you play, Chris?
I play. So my school was a small school, so we only had like 20 players. So I had to play both ways of the game. On offense, I played running back, and then on defense, I played strong safety.
Fun, man. Very cool. So you also mentioned track. Is that something that you picked up at a pretty young age?
Well, so I was pretty fast in high school, so my coach, my football coach, who was also the wrestling coach, he made everyone who played football wrestle except me. I was like, I'm not wrestling. So instead, I did track, but I never did any meets. I just would practice with the track team just to keep my speed up and stay in shape for football.
Very cool. So, what is, when you look back on those younger years? I mean, you
Hmm.
said that your mom and dad really instilled some discipline in you. You just said football kind of helped you with the ebbs and flows of life. Is there like one major takeaway when you look back on your younger years, Chris? In terms of like, man, this is really this encapsulates, my childhood. Is there
Hmm.
one thing that you kind of extract from those younger years?
Well, since I'm doing competitive bodybuilding now, I can compare like me being a bodybuilder to me attending a military high school, Carver Military Academy, which was all JROTC. So just those 4 years, it was pretty much like being in the army, and class on time, JROTC, just like the marching, yeah, just overall discipline that I can, with bodybuilding, you have to eat your meals at this time, this time, you have to do your cardio at this time, you have posing. So just the structure, I really would say like it has helped me a lot.
Perfect. Love that. So talk about once you were kind of wrapping up high school, did you kind of have something in mind that you wanted to pursue post high school? And
Hmm.
then did you pursue that? How did life unfold once you graduated from high school?
So coming up, it was either the NFL or becoming a commercial pilot for me. Um, my dad would always tell me, because my head was wrapped around football, 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 and he would always tell me like football is great, but only 1% of people make it to the NFL. So you gotta have a backup plan. And I would always say, no, no, I'm good enough. I'm good enough. I'm gonna make it. And he was like, all right. It's not that I don't believe in you, but just don't be disappointed when it doesn't happen. So it really stuck with me a lot. So I was like, you know what? Let me have a backup plan. And since the age of 13, I just love flying, and I love everything about aviation. And so I was like, I want to be a pilot. I love flying. So I really got into that. And I remember in 2009, my junior year, I went up to Grand Forks, North Dakota, at the University of North Dakota Aerospace Science School, and I started taking flying lessons. And that's where I got my private pilot license. And so when I graduated in 2010, I got accepted into University of North Dakota, and I got accepted into Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University down in Florida, which outside of the Air Force are the two best like schools to become a commercial pilot. But I knew I couldn't afford Embry-Riddle because it was like 250,000 for 4 years. And I was just like, you know what? I'm either have to save for that or take out a huge loan. And so I was like, I'm gonna put my pilot career on hold. So I went down to the University of Alabama, and I studied business and exercise science, and got my degree there. And then that's when I really got into bodybuilding. And then, like more recently, I've been wanting to get back into pursuing my private, becoming a commercial pilot. Um, so yeah, it's kind of where life took me, either football or being a pilot.
I love that. Now, how did you said at 13, since you were like 13, you were kind of like
Hmm.
obsessed with flying. What
Hmm.
what what experience or what came into your life at that point that you from such a young age wanted to be a pilot or were fascinated by flying?
So I was going to visit my sister, who at the time lived in Minnesota. Well, she still lives there, but this is back in 2006. And I was supposed to drive. Well, me and my dad was supposed to drive up there. He was gonna take me up there, but I think he had a work event or something, and he couldn't take me. So he bought me a plane ticket to go up there. So it was my first flight. So we're in the airport, and like I'm getting in line to get my ticket, and all of a sudden my stomach started hurting. It was a bunch of nerves. I was super nervous or whatever. So, but I was fine. Then we got on the plane, and uh, yeah, I remember I went to the back, and the flight attendant said, we got an extra seat or an empty seat up front if you want to go up front. So I was like, okay, cool. So I went up front, and it was a window seat. And just like from takeoff it was a short flight. It was only like an hour, but from takeoff to landing, I was just like, wow, this is something I can see myself doing this. And ever since then, I wanted to be a pilot. And then I would watch a bunch of like movies with planes on it, like Flight Plan with I think Jodie Foster's in it, and then Snakes on a Plane. And I just became so infatuated with like anything with a plane. Even now, like whenever I fly, I always record like the takeoff and landing.
That's cool, man. A bodybuilder that is a pilot, man.
Hmm.
That's pretty neat, man. Very unique. So tell me then the football dream, right? You said, hey, like I want to go to the NFL. When
Hmm.
did that stop, or at what point did you realize like, hey, okay, maybe the NFL is not a reality. Maybe it's best for me just to stop football. Like talk about that a little bit, because a lot of us growing up are exposed to
Yeah.
sports. We play
Hmm.
sports. I played college football for a year, and it's like, man,
Mm-hmm.
we all we think about is sports and the NFL and
Mm-hmm.
MLB and NBA, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. But like your dad said, hey, there's very few that make it. And at some
Mm-hmm.
point, we all have to kind of realize, unless you do make it, we've got to figure out another route. So, what did that look like for
Right.
you, Chris? Please.
So after Alabama, it's when it really hit me that, well, during my time at Alabama, like I was there when we had Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram and Julio Jones, Dante Howard, all these got crazy, like phenomenal generational players. So I was like, man, so it was hard for me to get on the field, and I played mostly special teams. So I want to say like towards the end of my senior year, 2013, 2014 is when it really hit me like, all right, football or the NFL may not be in the cards for me. I didn't have enough film on me, enough footage. So I was like, and then when I got done playing, when I graduated college, I even tried out for the CFL, the Canadian League, but didn't make it. So I was like, okay, I'm just put everything in the bodybuilding. I'm just train hard and see what bodybuilding holds for me. So I want to say like around 2014, 2015 is when it really hit me there. All right, NFL isn't in the cards for me.
What was that hard for you to accept that, or did you
It
make a pretty easy transition?
it was pretty hard for me because I put a lot of time in, and like I used to train with my brothers in the off season, and we would go through drills and stuff. And um, yeah, it was pretty hard because growing up, that's all I wanted to do. That was like my main goal besides being a pilot, was to make it to the NFL. And I remember promising my mom once I graduated high school that like I would make it to the NFL and buy her a house. So for a while there, it kind of felt like I let a lot of people down, like I failed at life, So it was pretty tough.
Hmm. So, you played football at Alabama. That's a whole that could be probably a whole podcast in of itself. But I don't want to go too far into that. But like they're the elite of the elite of the elite.
Hmm.
Nick Saban obviously has built an unbelievable
Hmm.
program, and in my opinion, the greatest college football coach of all time. Just
Absolutely.
just quickly, in a nutshell, what did you take away from your time as a football player at Alabama? What's something that you really, really gleaned, learned, or was instilled in you being a part of that program?
It was never take anything for granted. Never overlook steps. Always trust in the process. And it was, with bodybuilding, when we're in prep, we tend to look ahead, and it's always Alabama taught me always what's next. If I win my show, if I win this show, all right, what's next? How can I be better? Always finding ways to be better, doing the little things well. So yeah, Nick Saban and the coaching staff, they really, instilled in us. And it was always to well, I guess I could say like to one thing he always told us was to take the souls of our opponents, make them feel our presence. So, when I'm in the gym, some people think I'm crazy or whatever the way, because I really get in the zone. I start like moving around, dancing around, and just I'm in the zone. So that's one thing Nick Saban always told us, and it's no matter what to have fun.
Very cool, man. Probably use some more colorful language than that,
He
right?
used he did.
I appreciate you keeping it clean for us. So, all right, that's a very thorough touch on kind of your backstory a little bit in terms of growing up in college.
Mhm.
So let's fully dive into the bodybuilding talk. So you wrap up your education and your football career at Alabama. Talk about that transition of training like an athlete and for football to
Mhm.
training like a bodybuilder, because obviously they're two different things. How did you kind of make that transition? Was there like a mentor, a coach? Was there somebody that kind of helped you with that transition? Talk about that, please.
It was kind of an easy transition for me. In college we're training like Olympic lifters with snatches and jerks and cleans and stuff. But during college, I would always, like I said, I always watch like Lex Lewis or Rodney Coleman and how they train, which was one or two muscle groups at a time, machines, dumbbells, stuff like that. So it was a pretty easy transition. So when I got back home and I started training again, and I was done with football, uh, I would just train like how they would, for each body group. So which we did some in football, but it was a lot more explosive work. So I just took the explosive work out of that, and yeah, so it was a pretty easy transition. I didn't really have a coach. I did train with this one powerlifter who was pretty known in the Chicago area, but that's about it.
Okay. So talk about your first competition and how did that go? And then like, why don't you just kind of share a little bit about your competition history up to this point, Chris?
Okay, so um, back in 2018, I signed with Redcon One, and I was being coached by Neil Hill, and Redcon they moved me down to Boca, so I was training with Neil Hill every day, and Flex Lewis as well. Crazy, right? I got to train with one of my favorite bodybuilders. So I was down there, and I was getting ready to do the Southern State show, but Neil Hill wanted to put some more size on me, put some more tissue on me, so we didn't do that show. So I took another year off, and during that time, Red Connor and myself we parted ways, as well as like me and Neil ended our coaching relationship. So I came back to Chicago, and then a buddy of mine was being coached by Cameron Cheek, who's in Atlanta. So, and he was doing a really good job with my buddy. So I was like, you know what? I'll have him coach me. So he coached me for my first show, which was the Lee Haney Games down in Atlanta. I took first in my class, and I took second overall, and that was my first show, and that's the only show I've done to this point. I was supposed to do nationals back in 2020, but I tore my bicep. I had surgery, and then I was supposed to do North Americans this past year, but there's some things I had to work through. So, but I'm with Dominick now, who's in New York. We've been working together since last April. He was prepping me for North Americans as well, and I just flew out to see him a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to do USA's this year, and then hopefully win that, and then jump right into the Tampa Pro, which is, I believe, is 2 weeks later.
I love it, man. Okay. So we got to take a step back. Now, how in the world did you get signed by Redcon One, never competing, and get connected with Neil and Flex? Talk about that, because that doesn't just happen every day. So what's that story, Chris?
It was crazy. So back in 2017, I had like 1,500, maybe 2,000 followers, and I really wasn't posting that much. So my buddy would tell me, "You got to post more. You got to post more. You got to get yourself out there. You got to get signed. Like, you have the look. You have what these people are looking for." And I would always doubt myself. I was like, "No, there's a million other people out there that look better than me. You know, if it happens, it happens." And that was always my thing. Like, if I continue to work, if I continue to show up, keep my head down, keep grinding and working in silence, that eventually someone will, notice and see. And I remember one day we went to train, we trained back, and we were in the locker room, and I was just hitting a few poses, and I hit a real lat spread, and I asked him to take a picture of me. He took it and he posted it, and well, I posted it. He took the picture, I posted it, and I remember Louis Marco. I'm not sure if you remember, Louis Marco. He he posted the picture on his Instagram and just blew up from there. He has so many followers. He used to be like super huge in the bodybuilding. So yeah, once he posted that, I believe I was at 2,000 that night. I think I woke up the next day with around 14,000 followers. It was insane. And then he called me up. He called me up that day and he asked if I were sponsored by him. I said nah. And he's good friends with Aaron Singerman. He said, "I'm gonna get you sponsored." And I'm thinking like, this can't be real. This is a joke, whatever. And sure enough, Aaron Singerman calls me and he said, "We want to sign you." I was like, wow. So that's how that happened.
Oh, jeez, man. Oh, that's crazy. Now, for the time that you were connected with Neil, obviously he's an elite coach in the bodybuilding community. Obviously, being around Flex Lewis, a champion of champions. What was that experience like? We don't have to get in why you parted ways or anything like that, but what were the positive takeaways for you working with Neil and then being able to train and be around a champion like Flex Lewis?
It's done so much for me. I still to this day think about our training sessions from 2018. I remember the first conversation I had with Neil. He said, "You can be a world champion in this sport one day." And Neil doesn't say this to everybody. He said, you can be on the Miss Olympia on stage one day. And this was back when my legs were lagging a little bit. He said, if you get your leg training together and really take this serious, you can be, Mr. O potential one day. And yeah, ever since then, that conversation has stuck with me. And I remember the first time we trained together. We were at Busybody down in Boca, and like before we trained, I was sitting on the couch, and then here comes Neil and Flex. I remember just looking over at Flex. And I'm just like, wow, that's Flex. I was in awe, like, wow, and yeah, our training sessions were really intense, really good. He taught me a lot about not just moving the weight, but feeling the weight, rest pause sets. His philosophy is amazing. Like, he taught me a lot. And you know, when things ended, it was kind of bad. But last year we talked, we repaired, so we're on good terms and everything's good. But yeah, our training sessions, it was intense. Training at the Dragon's Lair. Our leg day, every leg day, I don't know how I did it, but every leg day I would throw up. It was amazing.
That's cool, man. So then I want to talk about then your first competition, because obviously you did very, very well. Did you enjoy the prepping? Did you enjoy being on stage? Talk about that, because again, going from an elite football player in college to
Hmm.
bodybuilding, whether you think you're going to like bodybuilding or not, like it's a whole different ball game when you actually go
Right.
through a prep, step on stage, in
Hmm.
posing trunks and or in front of a bunch of people. So talk about that experience. Did you enjoy it? What didn't you like about it? Share a little bit about that.
So getting ready for that back in 2019, I'll be completely honest. It was a little bit nerve wracking for me because I had 70, 80,000 people, just waiting. Because up until that point, I was just a bunch of potential guy with big arms, a whole bunch of genetics. So everyone was waiting, and I think looking back now, I let like the pressure get to me, get inside my head a little bit. So it was a bit nerve wracking. I remember telling Kim, like, whenever I was sending check-in pics, I told him never to post it. No, I told him not to post it because I didn't want to deal with any of that. So yeah, I wish I could have enjoyed it a little bit more, like just the process. Being that was my first diet, I was like first true diet. I was so freaking hungry. It was unbelievable. Like, just a different ball game for sure. Yeah, I was so hungry, but I enjoyed like the look, getting ready for how everything just comes together, like the changes daily, um, certain poses you have to do to fit like how your structure is and what pops more. I enjoyed that a lot. I had a lot of guys. I remember like the last, 6 weeks out, I went down and stayed with him in Atlanta because the show was there. So, and he could look at me every day. And I remember him and my buddy Jeremy and Kyle, having them there really, really helped a lot. They got me through it because it was some days, man, where I think I was gonna make it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I wanna pull back a layer here for a minute, Chris, because that's really the focus of this podcast, and my heart is like, we see the muscles on Instagram, we see the overall trophies and all that stuff, right? But you're a human being just like I am. Everybody watching, listening to this, we're all human beings. We all have struggles. We all have those go through those ebbs and flows you mentioned earlier in life. So
Hmm.
you go from 2,000 followers on Instagram to, 14,000, like because of one picture. You
Hmm.
said that you had some pressure, you felt some pressure going into that first show. I'm sure you had some pretty big expectations after that first show. You tore your bicep, and you haven't been on stage since that first show. So how
Hmm.
have you grown over the last several years since you stepped off that first stage that you competed on? And what are some things that you've really learned about yourself, about life, about bodybuilding that maybe you could just share with us? Because again, social media shows us the highlights, and sometimes we get caught up in that, right? Like, oh, this person looks this way, or this person has 100,000 followers and I only have 5,000. Like, talk about just the reality of life over the last several years and how you've been able to grow, mature, and what have you learned, please?
And you hit the nail on the head. That's what I've learned, that, you know, social media is just social media. You know, it's just a highlight reel. You know, no one posts their lowlights. No one posts the adversity that they go through or the hardships. You know, no one's gonna post like, "Hey, my car broke down," you know, stuff like that. And over the last few years, I've learned that, you know, you can't control what people say. You can't control what people do or think. You know, if I'm looking a certain way and it doesn't, you know, appease to a certain audience or certain people, then who cares? You know, I was so worried about looking perfect all the time that, you know, it messed up my head, because I thought I had to be like this all the time, which is not the case, you know. So, you know, negativity is going to come like no matter what. So I learned to not let the pressure get to me, you know, just keep working. And, you know, when I tore my bicep, I started dating this girl, Erin Dennis, who's a IFBB Bikini Pro. We started dating, and pretty much right after I tore my bicep, October 8th, and we just broke up in November of 2021, but we're still really good friends. And she, like, during the year we were together, like, she was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, she taught me so much, you know, and she's one of the hardest workers I know, and I appreciate everything she's done for me. Yeah, she just taught me, like, who cares, you know, just have fun, just do you, you know, life is short, and you can't worry about what other people say or think. So I think I've really grown and matured in that aspect.
How do you kind of now with this new mindset moving forward? Because once if you step on that USA stage this year, and you know,
Hmm.
whether you turn pro or you don't, you know, there's going to be a lot of eyes on you, and there's going
Hmm.
to be that pressure again and all of that. Um, Specifically from social media. So how do you kind of approach social media now? Do you have some boundaries for yourself? Are you on social media like certain times of the day? Talk about that a little bit, and especially maybe just directed towards some of the younger listeners, where it's like they don't even know life without social media, and
Exactly.
it can really take life away from us, right? So how do you
Exactly.
approach social media now? How do you handle it? Do you have any boundaries for it?
I have some boundaries for it. Like, one day out the week, I try to stay off social media like completely the entire day. But I just, like, now I really just post my training or what I'm eating, and then I just try to sign off. You know, I'll respond to some comments or some stories here and there, respond to my DMs, but mostly it's just post my training, and then, you know, try to do my thing. Because in years past, I was one of those guys, you know, just all about social media, all about social media. You know, what's on Instagram? You know, what's on Instagram? Now I've learned other avenues in life. Like, there's more to life. You know, I just turned 30, so I'm doing a lot more reading. I'm in real estate. So yeah, and to the younger listeners out there, like, I believe Joe Burrow said it the other day during his press conference. You know, don't go post a workout and then go sit in your book for 4 days. You know, just work in silence. You know, social media is going to be there. It's not going anywhere. You know, just work on you. You know, and whether you have 500,000 followers or 500 followers, it doesn't make who you are. You know, it's an app. You know, if you delete that app, you know, the world is still going to turn. You know, so that would be my advice to them.
No, that's great words of wisdom. So, you mentioned your current coach, Coach Dominick. Why don't you
Hmm.
talk a little bit more about him? How did you decide to go with him? Because there's a sea of coaches out there, and what has he kind of maybe brought to the table for you in terms of a bodybuilder?
Dominic, he's been freaking instrumental and been so great. We've been following each other and been friends for years, since the whole Louis Mark on Redcon one thing. And he coaches a good friend of mine, Vincenzo Massoni. Hope I'm saying that right. So I've always known about him, because I was like, Vincenzo was a freaking monster, and he would always do good at national shows, top two, top three, top five. So so last year when I was posting my pictures and videos and stuff, he would always comment, and he would say, you're gonna get that pro card. You're gonna get that pro card. This is the year. This is the year. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, would you mind like prepping me or coaching me? And he was like, heck yeah, let's go, let's do this. And ever since then, just he's taught me that in coaches past, I believe, well, their philosophy was less food, the the better you're gonna look. And his is totally different. The more food, the better you're gonna look. And I've always have been reluctant to eat more because I didn't want to gain too much weight or, overdo it. And he has put he I remember when he sent me out the plan for when we started prep and I asked him, I said, is this right? Should I be eating this much? And he just said, trust me, just trust me. And I was eating so much food and like my body was getting tight. I was getting shredded and it was amazing. So he's taught me a lot. Yeah, he's been very instrumental. He sees so much greatness in me, so he's always on me like all the time. So I appreciate it.
I love that, man. So chat with us a little bit, Chris, about training. What is your personal training philosophy? What do you feel like has maybe given you the most growth over the years? You mentioned also at some point that your legs were maybe a little bit weaker. What have you found has been effective in bringing up your legs? So overall training philosophy, and then specifically leg training.
Okay. My overall training philosophy is I don't want to say the bro split, but I kind of do it. But I like to mix it up just to find out what works for me. I found that more weight, less volume has worked for me. I used to go in and do 5 or 6 sets with like 15 to 20 reps, and I've learned that like, within the last year and a half, 3 to 4 sets is all you need. Less volume, 3 to 4 sets. You do two warm up or two prime sets, and then I'll do just two all out sets to failure, and my muscles will be on fire. So I've learned that less volume and more weight works for me. And for my legs, I was, playing football, we did a ton of squats. So I was always squatting, just moving weight. But I found that that wasn't what worked for me in terms of like bodybuilding and leg growth and leg development. So I switched up my training to focus more on leg extensions, leg press, and hack squats. I found like hack squats and leg press really bring out so much in my legs, and I've been sticking with that. And I also used to do quads and hamstrings together. And if you do 4 or 5 exercises of quads, and then try to do 4 or 5 hamstrings, one is gonna offset the other. You're not gonna get the full from both. So I've split up my leg days. So I'll do quad focus and then hamstring focus. So I felt that that's really helped bring in my legs as well.
Cool. And in terms of like kind of like a split, are you training 4 or 5 times a week? What does that kind of look like?
But right now I'm training 5 days a week. My coach doesn't let me go longer than 3 days with training. So it's either 2 days on, 1 day off, or 3 days on, 1 day off. So I've been sticking to the 3 days on, 1 day off.
Perfect. And talk to me a little bit about recovery. Maybe it looks maybe a little bit different once you get into prep, but I mean, are you getting tissue work done? Do you go to the chiropractor? I mean, talk about sleep, talk about a little bit of that stuff, because my personal perspective opinion is that stuff just as important, if not more important than training, right? So talk about the recovery side of things.
Absolutely. And we beat our bodies up like crazy, when we're training. So recovery is so important. It's so underrated. I have a girl that I go to down in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Lacey Kales. She does dry needling on me like once every 10 to 12 days. I get deep tissue work once every 2 weeks, but I'm gonna start getting it once a week. I also have a massage gun that I'll use before 30 minutes before my workout, just to the area that I'm training, just to get it warmed up. And then later that night, the area that I work, I'll take the massage gun, I go back in there, and I go slow and deep in there. I also have some cups that I use too, that I use for my shoulders and my chest. So and my ex-girlfriend Erin, she was big on stretching. Like every night, she would make me stretch before bed. So anything you could think of, dry needling, stretching, deep tissue, cupping. I haven't been to the chiropractor in about 3 years though, so I'm slacking on that, but I will get in there. And sleep, this is bad. I average about 5 to 6 hours a night. I'm slacking on that as well.
Well, it's interesting. The more I learn about sleep and stuff, I mean, there's general recommendations, but some people, they can handle that amount. But I think we both know, and everybody watching, listening, sleep is where our muscle grows. So I think the more that we can get, the better, right?
Right, exactly. But I have sleep apnea, and like it's sometimes it's hard for me to fall asleep at night.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. So I want to get into some real estate talk here, because I'm also
Okay.
dabbling in some real estate as a gym owner. And but before we do, I want to talk about your plans to compete at USA's this year. Okay. So I'm pretty sure you're going to have to qualify, right?
Yep.
So do you guys have your eyes on a qualifying show? And if so, what is that?
We do. I was in New York 2 weeks ago with Coach Dom, and we were game planning. So we're gonna start prep April 9th, and I think we were gonna shoot for a show the end of June or the first week of July. It's a show. I want to say it's Atlantic States, maybe. I think it's that one. But we're gonna shoot for a show like between between June 22nd and like July 9th, and we're going to shoot for one that's because I'm in North Carolina, and we're going to shoot for one that's like close to there, like Virginia or Washington, somewhere along the East Coast where I don't have to travel very far. But I do believe it's the Atlantic States. Pretty sure it's in New York though, I'm sure.
Excellent. So then your main goal this year in terms of competition is what?
My main goal this year is to win the overall and the Mr. USA title, and then top 6 at the Tampa Pro for my first pro show.
Love it, man. Love it. Now, when it comes to goals, are those something that you just kind of stack in the back of your brain, or are you somebody that likes to write things out? You like to see things? What does that look like for you? And not maybe necessarily just bodybuilding, but real estate, life. How do you approach goal setting or figuring out what you're going to pursue in the future?
I used to be one of those people that would stack it up there and just think about it all the time. Just okay, all right, got to do this. All right, got to do that. But now I've learned that writing it down helps a lot, because I can look at it and I can see, all right, you got to do this. Or even if I'm out and about doing something, or if I'm being lazy or whatever, I can just look at it and be like, all right, Chris, move your butt. You got to do this. Let's go, time. Let's go. So I've learned. My goal setting is like I write it down now.
Love that, man. Okay, last thing about just kind of like how you approach bodybuilding and competing, and then I want to ask you some real estate stuff. So, are you the type of person when you get into prep, do you just fully have the blinders on, or do you get on Instagram, check out some of the guys maybe that you're following, or some of the guys that you're going to be competing against? What does that look like for you? And what do you recommend? Because, everybody is motivated or challenged in different ways. So
last year, this past year, going into North American's prep, I'm the type of guy that I just like to block everything out, just zone in, focus. But this last year, I was so amped up to do North Americans and get back on stage and get that pro card. So I found another source of motivation. So I knew some of the guys that I was going against. So whenever they would post a picture, I would go on the Instagram. I would go into the picture. I would look at the comments, and anytime someone said like, "Are you going to be the winner of North Americans, or you're going to blow everyone out the water?" I would screenshot that and save it in my photos. So yeah, every time someone did that, every time someone posted, no matter what it was, next IFBB Pro, or they're not ready for you, I was like, okay. So I screenshot it, and before my training sessions, I would look at it and I would get so pissed off, and I think that helps. So I think I'm gonna do it again this year.
Very cool, man. I think it's going to be interesting to see too, since you you've been, off the stage for so many years, you haven't competed.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting just to maybe, obviously you have a pretty big following on Instagram. Some people know who you are, but the truth is I didn't know who you were outside of Instagram until I started checking out your page. So it's going to be cool to kind of see you with all that potential, but still yet flying underneath the radar. Are you kind of excited about that yourself?
I'm so excited because I know like I have a pretty decent following, but I know like some people that still doubt me, and some people, even when I signed with Redcon 1 and I didn't do my, excuse me, I was supposed to do my first show and then me and Neil backed out. I know there like some people would say like, oh, he hasn't even done a show, he hasn't even competed, and he's getting all of this. Like I remember Redcon 1 paid for me to fly to London with Neil, completely paid for, and people were like saying like, oh, he doesn't deserve that. He hasn't even won a show. He's not a pro, blah, blah, blah. So that stuff still motivates me to this day. So yeah, I'm excited to get back on stage and show him what I'm capable of.
100%, man. Okay. Talk to me about real estate. How did you kind of figure out that's something that you wanted to pursue, and talk to me about why you're involved in it?
So back in 2016, I was studying to get my ACE personal training certification. And at the same time, I was like, you know what? I want to do something where I can make a lot of money, And I knew real estate was really good, and it's a booming market, So I got online, started seeing like what it would take to get my real estate license in Illinois. So I got it, and then there was a guy, a buddy, a firefighter that Jim used to train at, who does real estate, commercial, industrial, and he was teaching me about the ins and outs. So I got my real estate license for Illinois, but I never did anything with it. And like that's when I was getting signed to Redcon a year later. My bodybuilding I was starting to put everything in there. So I had my real estate license, but never like pursued anything or did anything with it. And so this past year, that's when I really decided to like I want to get back into it. So moved down to North Carolina, so I'm in the process of getting my real estate license for the state of North Carolina too, my brokerage license.
Very cool. So you said that you wanted to make a lot of money, and amen to that. But specifically though, like why real estate? And then maybe just give all of us some advice, some tips. What type of real estate are you interested in? Because obviously there's residential, there's commercial. Just give us a little bit more of the details of why you chose real estate as something to pursue to make a lot of money, and any advice that you have for any of us.
So I just knew like it was something I could be good at because I'm good at talking and selling things. And I would watch Chrissy Knows Best a lot, 2015, 2016, and dad, he made his name through doing real estate. And I was just like, you know what, real estate could be fun. It was something new, something I never done before, something I didn't think I would ever pursue. So, it's a new challenge. It's something fun. It can be something fun. It's a great market. I could learn. So I was like, you know what, let me throw my hat in the ring, see where it takes me. So, and the advice I would give, real estate, can be, that first year can be very scary because it's slow. But if you just stick with it, stay with it, then you can make a really big name for yourself. A lot of people are intimidated by real estate because it's such a huge field. Like you said, you got residential, commercial. Like there's so many avenues you can go with it. But if you just like find your niche, find what you're good at, and like put everything into that, then you can really be successful at it. And I'm more so toward the side of residential, like selling homes. I also want to get into it where like I can get the passive income with like owning an apartment building, flipping houses, stuff like that. So I'm still like getting all the concepts of it.
Yeah, 100%. So are you then, are you an agent? Like, are you out selling homes and stuff, or are you just more investing right now?
I want to be the type where I can be out selling homes. Like since I moved to North Carolina, so I'm taking a test in April to get my brokerage license, so I can start selling homes and stuff like that.
Very cool, man. We might have to chat once we
absolutely
turn off the podcast, man, because that's definitely, man, like there's so much potential within real estate. I'm learning a lot. I just made my first duplex investment this last year, and I mean it's just nice. You said passive income, right? And that's like a big goal for me. Like I own a gym. I'm getting into real estate. And it's like, dude, like there's ceilings in life in terms of how much potential there is, especially like for myself. I live in a town in Iowa with less than 5,000 people. Like, you know, there's a ceiling to how much money I can make with this gym, right? But when you get into real estate, and there's obviously other avenues, but especially real estate, it's like in the United States of America, where everybody's always going to need a roof over their head. And so there's a lot of potential for to make a lot of money. But like you said, that passive income, which to me, passive income it's king. I mean, it's
nothing like it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I found that out with the duplex. I mean, it's like every month I have tenants that, you know, they pay me. Like I don't do anything. I just take the check, or, you know, hit the Venmo into my bank account. And it's like, this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? So awesome.
And my buddy, he would tell me, like, if you buy a building and 3 stories, you can live in the basement and rent out the second and third floor. You're getting paid while not even paying any rent, you know?
100%, dude. 100%. Okay. Now I want to ask, we're going to start wrapping this up here, Chris. I want to ask you now, do you do coaching yourself? Like, do you have clients and stuff? Talk about that then.
I do. Yeah. So I got into online coaching, January of 2021. So a little over a year now, I got into coaching. I know a couple of years ago, a lot of people hit me up for coaching, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I just want to like learn more about it, you know, how the body works, male and female, different foods. So what I was telling, like, it's coming. I just wanna get more knowledge on it. So I started it back in January of 2021.
And how's that going? And are you still taking on clients? What does that look like for anybody that might want to reach out to you?
Yes, it's going really, really well. All my clients are doing great. I'm so grateful for them. They work really hard. They check in with me on time. I can't ask for much more. So if anyone is interested, they can email me. I have my email address in my Instagram bio, or they can just shoot me a DM directly on my Instagram. But yeah, I love it. I love it so much.
Cool. I want to ask you one more kind of follow-up question about that. You said you wanted to take some more time to kind of learn and things like that, which is great, because I think a lot of people just, you know, they do one show and then they're like, hey, I'm a coach. Do you have any suggestions or anything that you would want to share with maybe some people that are thinking about stepping into the coaching space, whether that's maybe in person or online?
Yes, I would say just learn more about diet and nutrition, because that's key. Training aspects. You got to learn about people's limitations too, because I have some clients in the army who can't do certain movements or exercises, so you have to be able to work around that, and that comes through time and knowledge. What else? Yeah, just and when you take on clients, you have to be ready to take on like different personalities, different personas, so you have to be able to deal with that, uh, and just patience. Just being patient. You know, every client is different, and you have to treat them as such. And you know, just being patient.
Yeah, for sure, man. Anytime we're interacting with other human beings, we gotta focus on that patience, right? So talk to me then, Chris, here as we wrap things up. Even though you've only competed once, you're really green in terms of bodybuilding and competing. But just looking back over the short span that you have been pursuing bodybuilding, what do you feel like bodybuilding has taught you, or what has bodybuilding given you?
Bodybuilding has given me more than I could have ever imagined. I've met so many great people in this industry, so many friends that I pretty much call family now, so many people who have been there for me. It's taught me discipline, grit, toughness, how to work through pain. It's taught me that nothing is given. You know, you have to earn it every single day. You have to earn it. When you're in the gym, you have to work for what you want. And it's taught me that, yeah, I was always the type of person that if you're my competition, then I didn't talk to you. I didn't want to be around you. I didn't like you. And as I've grown, I've learned that, you can still be competitive with people and still be friends with them. Um, but it's taught me a lot. It's taught me like how to persevere, sacrifice. Um, yeah, so and it's allowed me to be able to travel a lot, do like sponsorships and getting to meet people, getting to talk to people. So many kids come, or people in general, just come up to me in the gym and tell me how much I inspire them, how much I motivate them, like how they want to look like me one day. And it gets to me every time because God has provided me with such a platform and such with a physique that has allowed me to reach so many people, and I'm so grateful for that.
100%, man. Very cool. So we're going to just kind of wrap it up. Chris, I want to give you just kind of the opportunity. If you do have any final thoughts, any final words, go ahead, share that with us. I know you're with Rule 1 Protein. So if you want to maybe shout them out, tell us a little bit more about them. Anything that you want to kind of share before I do the outro, please feel free. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I just want to say I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on. It's been great chatting with you. I appreciate it so much. Also shout out to Rule One, my new sponsor. They're doing a 30% off sale until February 13th. So use code Chris for 30% off. Also want to get a shout out to my ex-girlfriend, who is a really good friend of me, a friend of mine, who we still talk every day, Erin Dennis. I want to say thank you for everything you've done for me. I really appreciate you. And I want to say good luck to her because she's competing in April. So shout out to her. And once again, thank you so much.
And you're very welcome, Chris. I appreciate you taking some time, man, out of your day to chop it up with everybody that's listening, watching Behind the Muscle podcast. So I appreciate it, and you're welcome. Okay.
Thank you so much, brother.
For sure. All right. So all of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate you. If it wasn't for you, the podcast wouldn't exist. Two quick things here as we close out this conversation with Chris. I would just ask all of you, first of all, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's really important because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube, and then I'll shoot them out to the other podcast platforms. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. And I always appreciate your guys' comments and feedback. So if you would take a quick minute to leave a comment, maybe your favorite part of this conversation with Chris, something you took away from this conversation, that would be cool. And then one last favor, I would ask all of you, please take this episode of Chris's and share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Chris, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know that you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.